The first bilateral meeting of the Trump administration was with India on January 21st after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Special Envoy Jaishankar was accorded top protocol at the Trump inaugural. Even though the Quad meeting in Washington was a broad overview, the meeting itself was a signal to the Indo-Pacific and all the resident powers, particularly China. Given the state of play, the Quad summit may be hosted by India in the first half of 2025, even though the dates are still to be finalized. China today has the largest navy in the world with nearly 500 warships. The PLA Navy has cornered majority of the Chinese defense budget for the past 3 years. China has added a full Indian Navy strength of 135 warships in the past decade and today has a permanent presence in the Indian Ocean region with at least 6 to 7 warships in the littoral states at any given point of time. Namaskar. The first multilateral meeting of US Secretary of State Marco Rubio was Quad with Indian External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong, and Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya. The first bilateral meeting of the Trump administration was with India on January 21st after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Special Envoy Jaishankar was accorded top protocol at the Trump inaugural. On January 26, Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto will be the chief guest at the Republic Day parade. He will be accompanied by Navy Chief Admiral Muhammad Ali for the 3-day trip after Indian Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh Tripathi visited Jakarta last month. A 160-member tri-service contingent along with 60-man band from Indonesia will also march on the Kartavya Path on the Republic Day. Last September, first woman US Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Lisa Franchetti declared that America needed to be militarily prepared for the China challenge on Taiwan in 2027. While Indonesia wants to play the balancing role in the Indo-Pacific with friends with all and malice towards none line, the geographical location of the fourth most populous country in the world places it at the heart of the Indo-Pacific. Indonesia sits on all major ingress routes to South China Sea with control over Malacca, Sunda, Lombok and Ombai Vetar states stretching from Quad partners India to Australia. Join the 3 dots and you get the big picture of the Indo-Pacific and the challenge faced from the rapidly expanding Chinese Navy. Even though the Quad meeting in Washington was a broad overview, the meeting itself was a signal to the Indo-Pacific and all the resident powers, particularly China. China today has the largest navy in the world with nearly 500 warships. The PLA Navy has cornered majority of the Chinese defense budget for the past 3 years. For the first time, Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun is ex-admiral of the PLA Navy. Fact is, China has added a full Indian Navy strength of 135 warships in the past decade and today has a permanent presence in the Indian Ocean region with at least 6 to 7 warships in the littoral states at any given point of time. China's long-range carrier task force patrols are expected to be in the Indian Ocean region as early as 2025 end. Given the state of play, the Quad summit may be hosted by India in the first half of 2025, even though the dates are still to be finalized. With trillions of dollars worth of trade passing through the Indo-Pacific, it is important that Quad plays a dominant role in the region to ensure freedom of navigation and keep the sea lanes of communication free from any big power coercion. In this context, the US will have to back Taiwan in a military emergency as annexation of the island republic will make the US, Japan and Australian military assets vulnerable to Chinese Navy's expansion in the Indo-Pacific. While Japan and Australia are close military allies of the US, the Indian strategic community, but not the Modi government, is split over New Delhi's involvement in the Quad. The left of center experts believe that India should not get caught in the war between US and China and want India to forge ahead on strategic autonomy. This group of experts also believes that India should play a balancing role between US and China and not let the big power rivalry play out in the Indian Ocean region. The right of center believes that India should join hands with the US and together meet the rapidly rising military challenge from the Xi Jinping regime, or become a frontline state against Beijing. In short, even though Indian and Chinese army are facing each other in East Ladakh after the May 2020 PLA transgression, and the PLA Navy is operating from key ports in the Indian Ocean region, the current government wants bilateral ties with Beijing based on mutual respect, security and sensitivity. Rather than adopt a pro-China, a pro-US or even a pro-Russia stance, the Modi government is forging ties with big powers based on national interest with special inclination towards democratic powers like the US and France. The need of the hour for the Modi government is to access latest technologies from the US and rapidly expand India's military industrial base through domestic manufacturing under the Atmanirbhar Bharat rubric. During the bilateral meeting in Washington, Secretary Rubio indicated that the Trump administration will push the momentum on technology, defense, security ties, trade, commerce with India, as domestic manufacturing is the key condition for the global high table. Until such time that India manufactures jet engines, fighters and submarines at home, the country will always be dependent on third powers for its defense and security needs. This month, Indian Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, red flagged the HAL DRDO for the delays in meeting the first deliveries of 40 fourth generation Tejas aircrafts, while he said that China was already on way to test the 6th generation fighters. Fact is that the Indian Armed Forces and the defense PSUs would rather buy foreign technologies off the shelf than rather rely on Indian private sector through the Atmanirbharta route. The Indian civilian military bureaucracy is equally responsible for this mess, as it is focused more on the process, less on results. This means that it takes decades for a proposal to reach a decision stage. Remember, the Tejas program was conceived in 1984 and the first induction was in 2016, a full 32 years. The Kalvari class submarine program was conceived in 1998, with the last of the 6 submarines of this class, INS Vagshir, commissioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on January 15th. This dependency on hardware imports must go if India has to earn respect from the global powers and meet the rapidly rising China in the Indo-Pacific. With Prime Minister Narendra Modi by far the senior most leader of Quad, the summit in India will define how democratic powers will tackle the emerging situation in the Indo-Pacific, as well as build the alternative to support each other in technology, information, semiconductors, global supply chain. The Indian PM will in fact get strong support from his close friend Donald Trump, who revived the Quad in 2017 in his first tenure after China scuttled it brazenly in 2007. Namaskar.